What's up, NFL fans? I'm Emery Hunt, the czar of the playbook, and don't forget to check out and purchase your copy of our latest football game plan book, Stiff Arming Football Myths. We have these available in both PDF and paperback form.
Welcome to Football Game Plans Talking with TD. I'm your host, Teron Davenport.
Okay, talking with TD. We're just going to continue to bring in the prospects, the guys that I particularly take attention to. This is a guy that I broke down with Matt Waldman on the RSP film room. We're going to bring in Nebraska wide receiver Kenny Bell. Kenny, how you doing, man?
Good, brother. I appreciate you having me. It's good to hear from you.
No problem. It's definitely good to have you on. And as I mentioned, I really like your game. We talked at the Combine about some of the things that you bring to the table that I like. And let me tell you, man, I spent an hour and a half breaking down 2 of your games. So.
Oh, yeah? Well, which games did you watch, man?
we did the Northwestern, and we also did Michigan State. So
okay.
We definitely.
Sparty, I didn't get to play much in Northwestern, man. I was breaking down that film the other day. I had some drops. I struggled a little bit now.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the drops. The thing with those drops that I saw is it was just trying to make something happen before you got your hands on the ball. So it's not like it's a major thing where there's a huge catching issue. You were just trying to, and they were both on third downs on the crossing route.
Yeah, it was that crossing route. There was a penalty. The shallow route. The whistles had blown. We got moved back. I don't remember why, but there was a penalty. There was one that I dove for on our sideline. And then the other one, I hit me right in my stomach. I lost it in the lights. But regardless, man, I had to reel those in. But I never felt like I thought I proved myself pretty well that I catch the ball well. I struggled that game.
Definitely, and even later on in that game, it was 3rd and 7. You caught a shallow cross, you broke a tackle, and went another 15 yards. So it's all good. But I want to just talk about your game itself. I like the way that you work on the outside. We talked about how you use that cushion. You leave that cushion for the quarterback to drop the ball, and specifically about your release. So just talk a little bit about your game winning on the outside, then we'll talk about you playing the slot as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the outside, a lot was demanded of me, or just of Nebraska receivers in general, in terms of knowledge of defenses, reading defenses, and then executing run and pass plays based on that. Some that my coaches did great in Nebraska. Coach Beck and Coach Fish, the guys that coached me while I was there, taught me how to read defense. It's something that I do well, and it's something that helped my game a lot while playing in Nebraska, as far as adjusting routes, release on routes, and just playing the game of football, especially in the run game. Knowing who you're going to block makes life a lot easier than trying to do it on the fly like a lot of the O-line and running backs got to do.
I'm glad you mentioned the blocking too, because that's something that I really saw, and that's another thing I like, and that's what makes me call you a very complete receiver, because it's not only the will to, you have the want to. There were often times where I saw you go look for somebody to block. And like we talked about before, a lot of Abdullah's long runs were courtesy of a downfield block by you. What's your thoughts about the blocking game, and why do you have such a want to contribute on that side of things?
So it started with Brandon Kenny, a guy at BK, we called him. He was a senior when I was a freshman. I was a redshirt freshman, so it was my first year actually getting to play. He's just tenacity, man. We liked punishing people in the perimeter, and from that, Coach Fisher, my receivers coach, developed a culture in our room where that's what we're going to do. And you turn the film on from the past 4 or 5 years of Nebraska receivers, man. It's not just me. Quincy and Nunwell used to just dominate people in BK. Niles Paul he just re-signed with the Redskins. He played receiver here. We all took pride in dominating on the perimeter, and that's what we did, man. That's something that I took great. That's probably my most prideful thing about my game, was how physical I am on the perimeter in the run game. I wasn't a guy that was going to, the big difference between me and the guys that are talked about, it's huge this year in this class. The Amaris and Nelson Aguilars and Kevin White, those guys got to catch 100 balls or so a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no way I was catching 100 balls. Our offense that's not what we did. I caught I averaged, I think, 3 or 4 catches a game, probably 5 or 6 targets, somewhere in there. I just knew I wasn't gonna be catching the ball a lot, so I needed to make plays and help my team the only other way I could, and that's by blocking. And you're right, or what you said. It's something that I take great pride in, that Amir had those long runs. I mean, he had some, obviously Amir's one of the best guys in this class, and he's a tremendous athlete, but I definitely took pride in some of his big runs. I mean, you watch the film, and I'm celebrating with my sideline about a block I had, or another receiver, a block they had. I mean, I took just as much pride in that as I did a big pass play. Absolutely.
And that's what teams want. They want a guy that's selfless, a guy that's about the team. So I really like that. You know, the receiver position with guys coming along, you know, Ocho Cinco, T.O., and some of the other guys, it's been made into what they call a diva position.
Yeah,
so
divas, man. Yeah. That's the rap, man. Divas.
It's refreshing to see a guy like yourself that go in and you know, take control of the blocking game and want to do that. And then you mentioned the limited targets. Here's the thing, though, that people have to understand. When you did get targets, you took advantage of them. 16.8 yards per catch.
Yeah, when the ball came my way, I did the most I could with it. I think through this last year, I think the last, I think I had like some 22, maybe 21 touchdowns, career touchdowns. I think like 19 of them came from 25 yards or more. So when I got it, I mean, I knew what to do with it. I never had a problem with that, but the targets were just different. I mean, I don't have any qualms with that. I loved my time in Nebraska, and you said you like a guy that goes in there and wants to do that. Honestly, man, I just want to win. I want to play football. I love playing football, and I want to win, and that's what matters to me, brother.
That makes sense. And looking at the combine, and it's funny because watching you, I said, okay, well, you know what? I don't know what time he's going to run. I'm not sure exactly how he'll do at the combine. I just look at him, I just see a football player. But then you went to the combine, and you showed off a little bit. You know, you had one of the faster times at the receiver position. So talk a little bit about your workout and what you wanted to show everybody at the combine, and then we'll talk about your pro day as well.
Yeah, well, combine was huge. Yeah, I was actually really disappointed with I shouldn't say really disappointed with my 40, but I wasn't very happy with my 40, and I wasn't happy with my vert. But yeah, the guys down, really everything that got me ready for combine, all credit goes to the guys down at Michael John's Performance down in Dallas. Those guys down there are top notch, top of the line. If anybody ever asked me, a younger guy from Nebraska ever asked me where they should train, there's no doubt. MJP. Those guys, nutritionally, workout regimen, everything balanced, top of the line. I mean, I loved my time down in Dallas. It was wake up and work out all day, really just get ready for the combine. We changed specific drills that were at combine, and those guys have been doing it for 8 years now or so, 7, 8 years. So they've got it down to a T. We had a mock combine up at AT&T Stadium. I mean, it was awesome. So I felt bad for a lot of guys at combine because their heads were spinning, and I mean, it's crazy. Anybody that actually goes knows it's not a cakewalk. I mean, it's a lot is demanded out of you. For me, it was nothing. I just sat back and enjoyed the experience because I knew exactly everything was coming. So it was awesome.
Yeah, and that's one thing that you definitely made sure that you mentioned when you were being interviewed. You were talking about the grind and how it's no joke, but you made sure that you told everybody this is what you enjoy doing, and that it's not a job, it's something that you want to do. So I wanted to point that out for sure. And you mentioned, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, I'm lucky, man. Like I just love the game. And everyone's talking about money, this, and how all that stuff, endorsements, this. But I just want to play football, man. I don't like the paycheck and all that stuff. That's awesome. But I'm a blessed guy. My family's taken care of. Right now, I'm just doing it because I'm living the dream. Really, I've had this dream. My father played. It's cliche to sound. I mean, it's cliche sounding, but my father played, and it's just what I want to do, man. I could go out and get a job, but why do that when I could go have fun and play football, brother? Nothing better in the world.
Hey, you went and got a job one of the off seasons during your college career. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, man, I got a bartending job at a place called the Bar in Lincoln. This is a small little dive bar. It's an awesome spot, man. Played darts, bucketball and stuff on the weekends or during the week. Was nice and relaxed. Just, you know me, I'm a social guy, so it was cool to sit down and talk with people all day when I'd open the bar. You know, it was a cool deal. Just needed some extra side cash to pay bills and stuff. So it was a good deal.
Can't knock you for that. You mentioned your dad. He played in the league earlier. He was a returner. Played for the Broncos, and it just so happens that when I asked you a player whose game that you like in the NFL, you mentioned a Broncos receiver. Go ahead and let the listeners know who it is that you like in the league and why.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously I'm biased. I'm from Denver. My father played for Denver, but Demaryius Thomas, man. I know everybody loves Megatron, and everybody loves AJ Green, and Odell had a huge had a huge year last year, and that's awesome for them. I think they're great receivers, but Demaryius Thomas' work ethic, how he approaches the games. I mean, obviously I don't get to see him practice, but how he runs his routes and how crisp he is and how physical he is at the top of his routes, how well he catches the football. I mean, that's all unbelievable, how good he is at it. But the dude punishes people on the perimeter. He blocks his tail off, and any guy that's in the league that will just block his tail off like that guy cares. Because those guys, a lot of those big time receivers make what? Like, I don't even know. I don't really look at the stuff what they make. They make millions of dollars, and a lot of those guys, like, I catch the football, you know.
Yeah,
they see a guy go in there. Yeah, you know, to see a guy sell out for his teammate and go block a safety. It's good to see, man. Or to see a running back get fighting for 8 yards, and there's a receiver at the bottom of the pile with him because he was in there grinding with him. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, and it's definitely evident in your game. Like I said, you know, watching your games, it definitely shows that that's something that you take pride in doing. Earlier, you mentioned
I took a lot of licks doing that, man.
It comes with the territory.
Yeah, you watched the Northwestern game, the one where Tommy jumps over a dude into the end zone. The dude that's tackling me, he hammered me, bro.
Did he? I had to go back and rewatch that. You mentioned earlier about the nutrition at MJP, and at the combine, you spoke about just how you were feeling like you were the heaviest that you've been. You know, so talk a little bit about the importance of adding that weight, and do you feel that slowed you down or not? And then at your pro day, you ran faster than you did at the combine. So did you go back to your previous weight, or what happened there?
No, I actually tried to cut a little bit of weight for pro day because I was getting pretty heavy. So I got down to nutrition was my height and weight was probably the most successful test I had at a combine. A lot of people, all I've heard is how rail thin I am and how skinny I am. But at combine I was 197. That pro day I was 196.7, 196.8 or something like that, and ran faster. But yeah, the guys out of MJP taught me how to eat. They taught me nutritionally what my body needs and how to supplement it while I work out. That's something I never really did in Nebraska, and it's paid off huge. So when I first started putting the weight on, I was really worried about it slowing me down. But once I got the combine and jumped the 40-inch vert and ran the 4.4, I was like, nah, I'm fine.
Yeah, and you mentioned you were disappointed with your 40 time. Hey, man, look, 4.4, low 4.4s that's perfect. You know, obviously 4.3 would be something you would rather have, but you know, you came back at the pro day and you gave him a couple of those. Now, we talked about Demaryius Thomas. I told you at the combine, you know, Kenny Stills, as far as like the vertical threat, that is a guy that reminds me of. There's another guy at Cincinnati on the Bengals, Marvin Jones. And when I watched the two of you, there's a resemblance. Just as far as just the way that you guys are technicians at your release and working downfield. So that's a guy you might want to check out if you get the opportunity.
Absolutely.
At your pro day, obviously there were a lot of teams there. I mean, there's a bunch of scouts, a bunch of prospects, yourself, Abdullah, Randy Gregory, and it goes on and on. What were some of the teams that took interest in you, and what was some of the feedback that you got?
The Colts and the Texans seem to take the most interest in me. Feedback's tough, man. You don't get too much feedback out of the coaches and scouts. Mm-hmm. They're kind of stone faced. They're like, oh yeah, that's good. It's a weird deal, but I felt like I did great. I didn't drop any balls. I had a solid workout. I thought pro day went great. I didn't do as much. I didn't do as much as I wanted to. I sat on a few numbers from combine, but I got anxious because I wanted to jump again. Once people start competing around me, I get anxious and want to go. So, so I had to tell myself to relax a little bit. But yeah, I was definitely running that 40 again. There was no question about that. And a lot of the scouts and coaches they were surprised. They were like, "You're gonna run again today?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I wasn't trying to be pompous, but I was like, "I'm faster, man." Everybody that went to combine can jump higher and run faster. It's not conducive for testing well. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't keep a guy up till midnight, 1 o'clock, and wake him up at 6 for 3 days straight, and then expect him on that 4th day to test real well.
Yeah, well, you still tested well in my book and in a lot of people's books. So, hey, it's all uphill or downhill from now. You climb the hill. Now it's time to go downhill.
This is the worst part, man. Sitting and waiting. This is the worst part. Just sitting here and waiting for draft day. All I get going on right now is I train in the morning, and then kind of just find some stuff to do throughout the day.
So do you have some visits coming up, or there's some teams that want you to travel to them or work you out? The team gets dirty workout.
Yeah, I worked out with the Texans last week. But other than that, I don't have any plans, man. I'm going to be back. I fly back to Boulder on Sunday. I'm going to be in Colorado training for a little while up till draft day, I think.
Well, there you have it. Well, Kenny, man, I appreciate you coming on. And like I said, you're one of those prospects that I really like watching. And I love the tenacity that you bring, the way that you play the receiver position. You play it the right way. So I definitely appreciate what you do when you're on the football field. And I look forward to seeing you play on Sundays for sure. Before that, though, I definitely want to get back with you just to touch base, see how everything's going. Before we let you go, why don't you go ahead and let them know where they can find you and keep up with what you're doing on social media, on Twitter.
Yeah, absolutely. My Twitter account is Afro_Thunder80. That's for any social media, really. You'll find me. Keep up with me. I try to keep everybody posted what I'm doing every day, try and let everybody know. So, yeah, if you're interested, give me a follow. I'm real social. You shoot me a mention, and I'll most likely get back to you. Absolutely.
There you have it. Thanks a lot, man. You take care.
I really appreciate you having me on. Anytime you need it, you got my number, so just give me a call.
Appreciate it. Keep grinding, bro.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
All right.
That wraps up this edition of Talking with TD. Be sure to check out all of my interview segments at footballgameplan.com/talkingwithtd. If you have any questions or people you want me to sit down with, hit me up on Twitter at @TDavenport_NFL.